I completely agree with what Tim says there, but actually the movement for their first try was actually a quality finish, and it's the only try that Wigan have conceded in a couple of games, and it kind of they committed players and created the space out wide. They just didn't do that again. As you said, they were too flat. They didn't commit. But broadly speaking, the fact that he was 8-4 on for that vast majority of the kind of the second half is because he was nip and tuck. There wasn't a lot between these teams.
Yeah, it was really close, and that try, you're right about that Charlie try. That was when they did throw it around. It came off the pressure they'd built up, and off the magic from Lynham. But it just had to be Charlie as much as anything, didn't it? Just the script, it was all there for him to score against his old side in that high stakes a game.
It was a great play though, the way they set it up. They got in a position that Wigan numbered wrong because of how narrow their attack was. And then Ratchford's pass was absolute gold as well, which helped. Yeah, but I thought in general we were, from when I watched it back, Wigan were the more enterprising side, particularly in the first half. But I think that counted against us because of all the errors we were making. It just held us back from actually having more goes at Warrington's line than we actually got. But the set that Wigan had building up to the second try was a great set. Wigan actually, there was a few offloads up the middle, then there was a play to one side, then a play to the other side, and then when the play broke down, obviously Williams spotted the space when Tom Davies pointed it out for him, and it was absolutely brilliant execution of the play on the big stage.
It was a brilliantly weighted kick, wasn't it? It was just absolutely perfect, and you can tell they've done that in training 400 times.
Yeah, it's a funny one because it did look like it was the move was kind of petering out.
Oh, and yeah, totally. Yeah,
it looked like he'd gone down a
Powell just passed it to Williams, thinking, "Do something, George," sort of thing.
And he did.
There you go. You have it. Yeah. I can't be asked. You do something here.
No, I mean it's good. It's good recognition of the guy of the guy up in the line, isn't it? And that the space is in behind him. But obviously on that surface, it's damp surface. It wasn't obviously that we had a fair amount of rain. So to get the ball to kind of hold up is excellent execution.
Yeah, I think when Warrington made their breaks, and I suppose this kind of moves us a little bit into the second half. They never looked like they had that final play in them. There was think of Ratchford's 2 breaks in the second half. There was also a number of half breaks from Darryl Clark throughout the whole game, really. Always, in all those instances, there was no support. So
yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about, because I think, for all the everything we've said about Wigan's, tigerishness in defence and all that kind of stuff is still true, but you still got busted wide open twice down the middle. And a better team with supportive halfbacks would have been under the posts both times, because Ratchford would have drawn Tompkins and would have put, or Esquire, whoever was at fullback at that time,
both
and would have put that whoever was looming up in
or even imagine Saints and someone like Thompson arriving at the breakdown for that first one. He would have crashed through there.
12 points because you'd have scored near the post.
But
it's a completely different game.
But this is what I've talked about over recent weeks. I can't remember if I've said it on SLP or if I've said it on Wigan Fan TV or elsewhere, but
just too many media appearances. You just can't cope with all of them.
Wigan's great quality in their defence is that obviously their goal line defence is phenomenal, but when they are broken in the middle of the field, they don't panic. They seem to have an organised scramble defence. Like they close off where the other players will be coming from.
And they don't give a lot of penalties from it either.
Sorry, Tim.
They don't give a lot of penalties from it either.
No,
which
exactly.
a lot of sides tend to, because they do panic and they'll give a penalty away at that point.
They'll give them away where it's absolutely essential, but they actually seem to control and contain the game from that point, and it means the next play doesn't have the wide open situation for you that you would expect. But when you're talking about Warrington's execution, actually, it takes me on to the big play, the real big play that Warrington had, because on those other breaks, kind of they came from nowhere, so it's not hugely shocking that no one was supporting. But the one where Ben Masilla broke through and his half break, and he got his offload away as Sargent and came in to tackle him, and instead of creating a try from that offload, he actually injured Roberts, which was like the worst outcome. But that was the only real time that I thought they'd cut us open. Even with those other breaks, I had trust in our defensive structures and the tenacity of the players to cover them. That was the only time I was worried, and we still pulled off the right choices there, and Warrington didn't make the right choices.
Yeah, no, I think Murdoch Masilla had he had a good 5 minutes, didn't he? Where he had a couple of breaks, and it was just it's a what it might have been for Wire, really, isn't it? Because you can look at these and kind of we counted them up. So there's those 2 Ratchford breaks, and then there's the Murdoch Masilla one, and there was one point after the 2 Ratchford breaks where Wire were attacking, and they had a 9-4 defensive split they were coming up against, and they poured down that 9 side twice. And you think, come on, use that space. You've got some decent pace out there. Fling it out and use the extra space that you're attacking 4-on-4. You're going to have much more of a chance than just pouring down where a Wigan were just defending resolutely and just pulling bodies in. And it's just why would you keep pouring down that side?
But Wigan's edge defence kept showing it was more than up to the task, though, didn't it?
Yeah.
Gildart was pretty dominant on Goodwin, like he had been the week before on Shenton. Manfredi's tackle was, body on the line. Lynham hasn't been stopped by a lot of people recently, other than by himself being suspended. And then on the other side of the pitch,
or his own inability to judge how close he is to the try in Wembley.
Yeah, but that's it was so wet that he got the ball 20 yards out. I thought he'd start his slide.
There was, I think, just on Gildart for a second. I think his play for that first try was absolutely superb. The centre play of just drawing in, just releasing the ball at exactly the right time, that really just created that space and scored that try for me. As much as the finish was fantastic, the setup there and the assist was brilliant.
I'm not going to disagree with that. Of course, Wigan had their chances as well. There was the Morgan Escaray break. Is a particular
and the drop goal attempt.
Well, the less said about the drop goal attempt, the better. But the break that led up to that field position was certainly a great piece of play by Tompkins and Escaray together there. And there was a couple of other kicks. Escaray's chase on Tompkins' kick that went just into the in goal where he tackled Tyrone Roberts in goal as well was absolutely inspired as well, and so there's a few moments like that where Wigan really did put the pressure on Warrington that Warrington weren't able to do on Wigan, either through Warrington's own ineptness in the attacking field and on the last play options, or through Wigan's defence in those exact same situations. What about the flashpoints in the game? There's probably 3 instances on the field and 1 off the field that we need to sort of cover to give a rounded view. So I'll come to you first, Alan. Do you think Sam was lucky not to see yellow for the trip? Because I was expecting a card.
Yes, in my opinion. Obviously, I haven't seen it back. I only saw it live, but it was at the right end of the pitch for me. I think he's lucky. He's lucky on that instance, and I kind of think the second one, you would have thought, although I don't think the second one was a yellow card in of itself, I think it may have been it wouldn't have been surprised if it.
Well, by that point, he'd given away 3 penalties, hadn't he?
Well,
it's 3 penalties he'd given away at that point. So
it's that persistent foul play type yellow card rather than it being a clear, yellow card offence.
What was the second one, Tim?
Sorry?
What was the second one?
There was one before the trip.
Oh, right.
So there was the trip was the second one, and then I think he was involved in that first one that was given away, and then you had the 2 instances.
Well, before we get on to the second one, I don't know if you've watched it back, Tim. Alan, you said you haven't. Cummings explained why it wasn't a yellow actually in the commentary, and explained it quite well that if the player's allowed to throw a leg out if they're tackling them at the same time and to help bring them down, and
on the basis that they're steadying themselves as well.
And Tompkins actually did have his hands on Goodwin at the same time as he tripped him, even though it was a rash attempt to bring him down more than anything else. So that's what saved him, I think. That and the fact that Hicks was being consistent to how both he and Thaler had referees the weekend before, where they both left the cards at home. So it would have been a little bit inconsistent of them to have not sin-binned anyone for trying to take heads off or for going in with the knees the week before, and then to have given a sin-bin in this instance, when there is a part of the rule book that says that's not necessarily even a penalty. So yeah,
I watched the BBC coverage back on the highlights. So mainly was when I got home last night. I'd missed the Sky repeat, but they didn't pick up on that in the same way. But I think you're right in that regard, that and it does kind of link back to what Brian McDermott was saying earlier in the year, that they do referee finals differently. You know, that these semi-finals and finals do get refereed in a different manner because we do tend to put the cards at home.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about the second one, because the second one's the one that Sam's got the charge from. So all the short memoried Warrington fans won't remember what me and Sean talked about, that Ben Westwood had a good pop at Blake Green's cheekbone in the 2013 Grand Final, and he got a one-match ban for that after the event, but they don't remember that one because well, it's not as recent, I suppose, but and they don't feel as aggrieved when it was their player dishing out the dirties. But I actually think Sam's clash with Clark was entirely accidental. He was running quite fast. It was wet conditions, a bouncing ball, and a player sliding across his path. It was careless, and in this type of game, I think penalty is what should happen. But I think penalty is sufficient, and I'm just still sat here, Tim, wondering why, when Charlie did basically the same thing on Escaré, none of the neutrals, in inverted commas, out there were crying out for a card. And how come Sam got a charge, a grade B charge, Sam's charge, and Charlie didn't get any charge for what I saw as the same thing? And Tompkins went into the back of Clark's head. Charlie went right into sort of the upper shoulder and back, but Charlie went right into the face, pure face. All he got was face. So yeah, that strikes me as a bit strange. What, any take on that? That is less biased than mine.
No, I think you're right. I think I was surprised. Genuinely, I was surprised when I saw the rap sheet come out this morning. I was surprised that Charlie wasn't listed, even as a warning, or a early guilty plea use up.
I mean, in my head, I think careless is the right word there. So I am surprised it's a grade B. Because
although he doesn't miss anything, because he misses an international game he was going to be rested for anyway.
Well, there you go.
This is a nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I think they both. I think the carelessness comes in there in terms of duty of care to another player who's in a vulnerable position, and it's all right saying you're kind of running in it's wet conditions, blah blah blah, but all those kind of things, and I think you have a duty of care to your fellow professional in that sense, which is why they probably both should have been treated in the same way. Some of these things are purely accidental, but I think in both cases they were careless use.
When one of them happened, but not when the other one happened. Half time.
Well, at least you could get signal. I couldn't get anything. I was in a blackout from pretty much the moment I got to my seat till the end of the game. I had no idea what. So that meant, because they didn't announce the teams in inside the ground sort of by the time we got in, so that was 45 minutes before, I didn't hear the team, so I had no clue until after the game exactly who was playing, because I had to work it out, because I had no signal to get onto anything to look it up, and they hadn't announced it, and it wasn't even on the big screen. You thought they would have at least put it up on the big screen.
It was I saw it on the TV screens in the sort of concourse area.
Yeah, they announced the teams. They did it twice. They did it once about just after the coin toss, which is about 90 minutes before, and then they did it just before all the fireworks and the fire and music started. So
and when the army came out and totally ballsed up the pitch runners.
I liked that. It was kind of everything else was so beautiful and so pretty, and then it was just wonky as hell.
And I have a genuine question. What happens to those giant logos that they've got printed up?
Well, they obviously don't need to get too many new ones because there's only since they've been doing it, there's only been 5 teams in the Grand Final. Actually, that's quite a lot, and it's half the league. But the coloured runners, like, what have they done with the cast ones from last year? Because all the others have been repurposed every year for like 8-9 years, apart from the cast ones.
Pretty much always got a red or white or a blue and yellow. So